We've done a movie about space with a somewhat serious tone. Now, let's do a movie about time with a pretty goofy tone. Unlike the last Disney original we talked about, today's film is a utter gem to come out of the sweet, sweet age, the sweet golden age of the late 2000s. And you know, it's pretty ironic. The VFX, while still a little goofy and, you know, not perfect, are kind of like a little bit better than Girl vs. Monsters. And I think that is because today's film doesn't heavily rely on its visual effects and puts more emphasis on the camera work and character development. Oh right, the title of the film, right. Today's film is called Minutemen, a movie about 3 high school students who discover the secret to time travel. I mean, come on, that's basically a formula for instant success. Time travel plus teenagers with conflicting emotions and motivations due to their hormonal development? I mean, come on, if you miss that bullseye, I think you're just a grade A moron. As usual, I will attempt to give a plot summary in under 10 minutes, although I doubt that's going to happen considering this is a 9-page script, followed up by a short analysis of the plot and effects, as well as the final review. But without any further ado, Minutemen opens with an outside view of our primary setting, Somerton High School, leading right with the intro graphic. No playing around, just getting straight to business. Here's the title, here's our characters, let's go. God, I'm starting to hate the term let's go. I'm getting sidetracked. Here we are introduced to our primary protagonist, antagonist, and love interest. This is Virgil. No, not that Virgil. Derek, his best friend, and Stephanie, the love interest for both of them. First day of high school, custom bro handshake, and optimism for football and cheerleader tryouts. All is as it normally is on a first day. Even though Virgil is no sportsman, he is making friends with all the football players and establishing a social presence right away. Derek is struggling with tryouts, that is until Charlie shows up. In a freaking rocket cart. Meet Charlie Tuttle, our second protagonist. Young, humble, and a certified genius. The kid got skipped a whole bunch of grades because, well, let's be honest, who is building military-grade rocket-powered vehicles at 10 years old? Derek declares that Charlie is going down, while Virgil tries to discourage him as Charlie is already leaving. But Derek passes his football tryouts with a pretty impressive throw, I'll be honest, and the football players then proceed to go and mess with Charlie. Virgil attempts to cool talk them into chilling out, especially since, you know, Charlie is a little bit on the younger side, but he just ends up in the pit with Charlie. The first 5 minutes of this movie are so great because it so quickly and effectively establishes what kind of character Virgil really is. He wants friends with high social standing and wants to be well liked, but not at the expense of others. And we all know what the punishment is for having a moral compass in high school. Okay, that's pretty rough, but it's very funny. And it's a very important character moment, as this cements the day that Charlie and Virgil become friends. Best friends. Any friendship that has the real shared social trauma is concrete solid. Flash forward 3 years later to the beginning of Virgil's senior year, and Virgil and Charlie are still friends. I'd also like to take this moment to appreciate the glow up that Luke Benward has gone through. That's the actor who plays Charlie, by the way. This is him in Minutemen, and this is him in Girl vs. Monster. Just 4 years different, and this man has glowed the hell up. Not that he looked bad here in Minutemen or anything, but my goodness, the glow up is still just real, man. Back to the plot, we now see the day-to-day life of Virgil and Charlie. Virgil still yearns to be one of the cool kids, wants Charlie to build something useful, and the uncommon but still noticeable run-in with the patented scary kid, Zeke. Oh yeah, and there's a lot of these like sped up zoom shots in the film, so get used to it. That seemed to be a thing in the mid to late 2000s, these like sped up zoom shots. I wonder why that is. I mean, it looks cool, but I wonder why. As Virgil questions how he is still eating at the dork table as a senior, Charlie, of course, brings up the day that they were hung up on the Ram statue, or as Virgil calls it,
yes. The incident.
Which is how I will refer to it from now on. It's just so fun to have something to call the incident. And this is Jeanette, Charlie's one-sided love interest character, where Jeanette is actually the one side of the interest, with Charlie having absolutely zero interest, declaring that,
"Forget it. I'm married to science."
See, under most circumstances, I'd call that statement extremely lame. But Charlie is an actual, like, Jimmy Neutron genius, so kinda makes sense. We also see Virgil still making time and effort to talk to Stephanie, who clearly still respects and cares about him as a friend. Even though she's dating Derek, she very much enjoys Virgil's company and didn't let the incident warp her perception of one of her oldest friends, making her one of the most emotionally logical, if not the most emotionally logical character in this movie. And in Virgil's public speaking class, we're introduced to Jocelyn, not an important character-wise, but she does serve a narrative purpose, so keep her in the back of your head. But out of nowhere, Charlie bursts in and asks for Virgil immediately. As they're walking, Charlie brings up the rocket cart and the incident, making this the second or third time. Charlie mentions how, though the rocket cart was a failed invention, one of the rocket cart's components proved to be a success: the quantum accelerator. And in the computer lab, Charlie has just finished rendering calculations of a successful simulation of practical time travel. And throughout the day, Charlie tells Virgil all the details. They could, in theory, travel up to 48 hours into the past, but they lack someone who has an understanding of internal combustion to actually build the machine. So they're gonna need a hardware guy. And after enough nagging, Virgil decides to be on board with the project. But he has one condition. Virgil gets to decide what they use the machine for the very first time. Whatever he wants to do, that's what they have to do. Charlie, somewhat hesitantly, agrees. They quickly find their hardware guy in the form of Zeke, who, yes, you guessed it, is the final member of our trio. At Virgil's house later that day, Zeke gets a good look at the plans, and he determines that, yes, it is in fact viable. Zeke agrees to help build it, saying that he's always up for a challenge. And at a scrapyard later on, Virgil finally figures out what they're going to use the machine for, and he decides that they are going to do the typical win the lottery with time travel gimmick. Zeke seems all for it, but Charlie protests. Except he can't really protest since he already agreed to Virgil's terms earlier on. This might seem like a small moment, but it really sets the premise for the upcoming interpersonal conflicts in the later acts. Charlie clearly wants to use the machine and even just build the machine to advance science and use it for something practical and good. Whereas Virgil's very first thought on how to use actual time travel was something selfish, like winning the lottery. They'll need somewhere to build it, of course, and after some literal bribery with the vice principal, they get access to Room 77, which was built during the Cold War as a nuclear fallout shelter. All right, we have our plan, we have our muscle, and we have our location. Cue the building montage. And here she is, the time machine. Want to give a speech, Charlie?
No, that's not it. It's the one small step for me.
Dude, just turn it on.
Holy mama, that is a vortex if I've ever seen one. Also, it would appear that Virgil tried, and failed, to teach Charlie his old handshake with Derek. Though a small detail, it shows Virgil still clings to the, quote, better part of his life. After some bickering about who's going to go first, Virgil and Zeke decide to send Charlie's cat through the vortex to make the very first trip. And when they pull him out, they check the watch, and the honor of the world's first time traveler in history goes to a feline. Nice. Quick sidestep over to some government laboratories, and it seems like the time machine is causing some off-the-charts readings, but for the moment, they just chalk it up to a computer glitch. Later on in the library, Derek is defending himself to Stephanie after Jocelyn was teaching him French. And it's very clear and obvious that Steph does not believe him, but she just writes it off as whatever. But as soon as Derek leaves and Virgil enters the scene, Stephanie's mood brightens noticeably. They have a nice conversation and get a little bit too loud for library standards, and she does try to reinforce to Virgil that Derek did try to stop those football players on the day of the incident. And she also tells him that,
you know, they say that people who don't let go of the past die faster. And get more acne.
The die faster thing, maybe. But the acne thing? I'm gonna need a rain check on that one. Because I had a hard time letting things go in high school, and I never got any acne, so someone do a check on that for me, please. The boys finally gear up for their lottery rigging scheme, and dress for cold weather in case of varying temperature. Oh, and Zeke has a grappling hook.
You making fun of the hook?
Do not make fun of the hook. Cue the goofy VFX, and it is now the previous day. The trio runs out to the gas station to buy the ticket and realize, oh yeah, they're not old enough to buy a lottery ticket. So they get this street performer guy to buy it and hold onto it. And I think we all know where this is going. Oof. The next day, Virgil proposes the idea of patenting and selling the machine to make a ton of money and become super popular, which isn't a terrible idea, quite frankly, but Charlie makes it clear that it has to stay a secret, else it'll be the end of all three of them, which is the more likely outcome. Also, it seems someone took Chester's clothes in gym class. That is a yikes, especially when you're one of the most local dorks. Charlie declares that there must be an important use for the machine that they're just not seeing yet, to which Virgil responds,
What's more important than being rich and popular? Kidding. I'm kidding.
"But are you, Virgil? Are you really?"
Mostly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But as they see Chester get humiliated from having his clothes stolen, Charlie and Virgil both realize at the exact same time what they'll use the machine for. They tell Zeke their plan to become like silent heroes to the uncool, and Virgil says the name of the movie. But they have one tiny problem. Without someone to stay behind when they time travel, they run a significant risk of the vortex closing before they can travel back without someone there to manage it. So who will stay behind? Will they take it in shifts? No, they get Jeanette. And thanks to her crush on Charlie, she's sworn into secrecy after a professional club meeting. Oh, and she gets them new outfits. Much better than just random winter clothing, right? They head back in time, get Chester some new threads, and change his fate forevermore. And they bump into the vice president on the way back by total accident, but I'm sure that won't have any consequences or ramifications.
Recently, a group of students dressed in snowsuits disrupted a gym class. That once you are identified, you will be severely punished.
The next day at this local restaurant, Derek and Jocelyn exchange some looks, while Stephanie, who is right there, isn't paying attention. And poor Eugene, another local dork, slips and falls while trying to deliver Jocelyn's food. Thankfully, Zeke is on the scene, and the next day, but also this day, so are the snowsuit guys. All right, we have our protagonist's mission set in stone. Cue the adventure montage with the authorities utterly unable to keep up with them and no idea who they really are. Okay, maybe the local authority can't keep up with them, but it seems the trio have attracted the actual FBI and probably every other government shadow organization. That is a big yikes. At lunch one day, Steph tells Virgil that she's gotten accepted into one of her favorite colleges and that they're sending a scout for her cheerleading scholarship. Oh, and she's rocking a snowsuit guy's shirt. Nice. Charlie is super nervous and freaked out today, and that's because he knows why they're being followed. One of the primary pieces of the time travel formula was difficult to acquire and even invent in the first place, so Charlie decided to appropriate it from NASA. I know you're a genius, Charlie, but that was pretty stupid. So, wanting to play it cautiously, Charlie advises that they don't use the machine for a while and lay low. Good idea. But lo and behold, Steph breaks her leg during her cheerleader tryouts for college, and I think we all know where this is going. Charlie is, of course, and rightfully so, strongly opposed to helping her because, as he points out, they're all being watched by the actual FBI. He also points out that Virgil has a huge crush on Stephanie, making it clear that he is aware that this is kind of a selfish thing for Virgil. If they weren't being watched so intently, I feel as though Charlie wouldn't put up as much of a protest because, well, this is what they built the time machine for. Sure, Steph is a popular girl, but they did build the machine to ultimately help people in need. Regardless, they save Stephanie from falling, and Virgil tries to hammer it home that they are the Minutemen, not the Snowsuit Guys. But honestly, Snowsuit Guys isn't a terrible name either. Bit on the nose, but so is Minutemen. I mean, just listen to this one clip from the restaurant.
All right, the snowsuit guys.
It just kind of has a bit of force to it, oh yeah, the Snowsuit Guys. It just kind of has a bit of I don't know, heroism and stoicness to it. But as time goes on and on and on, it's becoming clear that the trio's action as the Minutemen have caused the uncool kids to climb the food chain rapidly and totally changing the social structure of the school. Charlie points out this chain reaction and is seriously freaking out about it, especially because of all the possible unknowns their actions could cause. But outside school hours, Steph comes over to Virgil's house, and she has figured it out. She's identified the Snowsuit Guys as Virgil, Zeke, and Charlie. She thinks they're psychic, but Virgil says that they're time travelers at the exact same time that she says psychic. Now, this little moment where they both say the word at the same time, it can be interpreted two ways, I think. Number one, Virgil was fully confident in his friend's intelligence that she had actually figured out that they were time travelers and just said it. Or number two, it could be interpreted as a slightly, subconsciously selfish action. It's possible that he told Steph they were time travelers in order to sort of increase his reputation level with her. Either way, moving on. Sometime later during a critical football game for the high school football team, Chester goes streaking across the field and distracts Derek from making the winning throw. Okay, just play the gumball clip.
I think we all know where this is going, so let's just skip to the end.
As Derek and Steph are trying to convince Virgil to stop Chester from streaking, Derek, in a very arrogant way, says,
I don't know what's gotten into all the dorks lately. It's like they just don't know their place anymore.
Wow, if someone said that in my presence, even if I'm not part of the conversation, Virgil does his handshake with Derek and seals the deal with the devil. And of course, Charlie is in even stronger protest than he was when it came to Steph breaking her leg. Even if Derek didn't directly hang them up on the Ram statue, he clearly didn't make a great effort to try and stop those football seniors. And Charlie also feels as though he's losing control of this project, and Zeke kind of agrees with him. Either way, Virgil also points out how Chester streaking across the field is kind of their fault. If they hadn't helped Chester in the first place, he wouldn't have had the confidence to do something like that. So reluctantly and with extreme hesitance, Charlie agrees to help. Virgil also pulled a sneaky and took the tape of the original game with him during the jump, and thus it still existed even after they did their time travel jump. Derek seems genuinely grateful and invites Virgil to the celebration party. Virgil promised to hang out with Charlie, but he bails to go hang out at the party. Kind of a dick move, Virgil. You could at least give the guy a call and be like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Here at the party, Virgil and Steph have a really great conversation. This is one of my favorite interactions in the film. Here, Steph admits that being popular isn't really it's all cracked up to be, how her and Derek go to every social gathering and how it's kind of, extremely draining. And she wonders if she took the right path these past few years. Derek comes and sits down with them, and he's being all friendly, and once again, he exchanges some looks with Jocelyn as Steph is right there. Also, since Derek and Charlie are neighbors, that's a big oof, Charlie sees Virgil through the window at the party. The next day, Virgil is begging Charlie for forgiveness, and because Charlie is a genuinely good friend, he forgives him. Virgil then gets another call and is very quickly to say that, he'll get rid of them. Turns out it's Stephanie who's on the other line, and she is in tears. Instead of explaining that his friend is literally bawling her eyes out to Charlie, Virgil just leaves Charlie hanging on the line. Kind of rude, especially considering Charlie just forgave you for bailing on him last night. Turns out Steph was crying because Derek was making out with Jocelyn, and Steph saw. And while they're talking, Derek calls, and Steph declares that she has to end it once and for all. Virgil wishes her good luck and heads out. Yikes, that's not looking so good. And it would seem that the government is really catching on. At the restaurant, Derek is begging Virgil to prevent Steph from seeing him kiss Jocelyn, declaring that she kissed him and he didn't kiss her back. Oh my god, screw you, Derek. Screw you. You are the worst kind of scum. If it was truly all Jocelyn, it was all on her end, you'd ask Virgil to stop Jocelyn from kissing you, not stop Stephanie from seeing it. Fucking hell, what a genuine ass. Virgil says he'll think about helping him, and then immediately gets abducted by the FBI along with Zeke and Charlie. Virgil pulls the whole, if you're not gonna charge us with anything, you can't keep us here card, and they're let go. So they can continue to be spied on, of course. And as they're walking outside, Charlie puts his foot down. Charlie and Zeke both call him out on using the machine for his own personal gain, when they were both in agreement that they should have stopped using it weeks ago. And quite frankly, I think this interaction right here says it all.
Why don't you just go home to your computer and your cat?
I will. Good luck on your new life as a popular person.
After getting abducted by the FBI, Charlie decides to spend his night doing research on the long-term effects of the time machine. Come morning, and he realizes that they may have accidentally created a black hole. A freaking black hole. Meanwhile, Virgil agreed to help Derek all on his own. What the hell, Virgil? Charlie, being responsible and concerned about the fate of the planet, goes to the FBI agents and tells them the entire situation, and unintentionally becomes the boss and leader of all of these agents and scientists. Not because he wants to be a leader, not because being in charge is the end goal and the desire, but because he is qualified and wants to rectify his own personal mistake. Meanwhile, Virgil is going to a dance with Stephanie, trying to play double agent with Derek. That is until Virgil and Steph are named the homecoming king and queen. Virgil jokes that he went back in time and rigged the ballot, and I'm not sure if that's actually true or not, there's never any confirmation. And Derek pulls Virgil away just as Steph is about to kiss him, and the two are about to get into a little fight over Steph. But before the fight can begin, Charlie shows up, the black hole starts opening, and the Minutemen have one final mission to go on. They head through the vortex and land in the park across town. Using Charlie's new remote equipment, they manage to reverse the polarity of the black hole and all seems well. But they know where they've landed. Better question is, when have they landed? Turns out it's the day the incident occurred. Virgil, seeing an opportunity to correct so many mistakes and fix his life, rushes off to the football field to use the precious 20 minutes he has to their absolute fullest. But after those 20 minutes are up, the vortex will close. As they reach the football field, Virgil declares that undoing mistakes is what Minutemen do, and that he has a chance to be somebody. In all this time, after all this time, Virgil still can't see it. What he remembers as this awful, horrible day that ruined his life, Charlie remembers as the day that they became friends. Best friends. Who cares that they got a little embarrassed? They formed a bond that would literally lead them to saving the world together. Is that really something worth changing? Charlie walks off and Zeke also doesn't protest. He tells Virgil that if things don't end up the same on the other side, that it's been a good ride. When Virgil looks back down at the football field with uncertainty, he sees that Derek was actually encouraging the football seniors and helped give them the idea to tie up Charlie and Virgil on that ram statue. As Zeke and Charlie are running back to the vortex with time running short, Virgil pulls up on the old rocket cart, and he realizes that Charlie was right all this time, that he made a pretty damn good friend down there. And the two successfully do Virgil's old handshake with Derek. And Virgil also declares that they should come up with their own unique handshake. Now that is character development. So they mount up, and Virgil misses the crucial turn back to the vortex. Luckily, Zeke has the hook, and they use the hook to quickly change their trajectory. We've come full circle, baby. They make it through the vortex just barely with seconds to spare, and they emerge on the day they tried to win the lottery. Derek, of course, makes fun of their outfits, and Virgil hits him with the hard moral high ground, and of course the classic,
Have a nice life.
Virgil also just decides to be honest about how he feels towards Steph, and it turns out she's already felt the same way this whole time, showing that sometimes a little honesty and straightforwardness is all you need, because you don't need time travel to make your life better. You don't have to undo your mistakes, because your mistakes are what make you who you are. All that matters are the choices that you make from now on.
Charlie?
What does the word teleportation mean to you?
Now, teleportation, on the other hand, that would make everyone's lives better. And so the cycle continues. Roll the credits. That, my friends, was the plot of Minutemen, one of, if not my single favorite Disney original film of all time. See what I did there? Of all time. Now let's just be honest for a minute. There are plenty of holes in the time travel mechanics. Like, for example, the first time they helped Chester. By saving him from embarrassment, the past Virgil and Charlie will never get the idea to use the machine to help the dorks, thus causing a paradox. But time travel rarely makes sense, no matter the movie, so I'm not gonna bother going over all the paradoxes. And although the story is primarily about Charlie and Virgil, it's not like Zeke was a totally underutilized character, even though I don't mention him too much during the script. He didn't really have like an arc like they did, not nearly as deep and complex, but he did serve as an essential voice of reason for both Virgil and Charlie. When Virgil was beginning to be selfish and mean, Zeke sided with Charlie and reinforced him. When Charlie was uncertain and overthinking things, Zeke sided with Virgil and basically told him to like, chill out, don't worry about it. Zeke's neutrality and generally being the guy who hopes for the best but doesn't try to control absolutely everything is especially exemplified when they're on the football field in the past. He tells Virgil to do whatever he's gotta do and makes it clear that he won't hold him back. But he also makes it very clear that he's extremely grateful for everything they accomplished together. And I just love characters like this. You might also have noticed that in the third act, Virgil becomes Charlie's personal antagonist. As Virgil wants more and more gain as they continue to use the machine, Charlie keeps protesting and fighting with him because he can so clearly see how selfish Virgil is acting, even though the literal FBI and entire government were on their backs. It's also just a great display of how far Virgil has fallen from freshman year. Like I said at the start, he wants friends and wants high social standing, but not at the expense of others. But after 3 years of being unpopular and being bullied and being constantly reminded about the incident, his moral compass has started to drift noticeably. And then as it does a full 180 swing from north to south, and then everything immediately begins crumbling around him, it's really nice to see him sort of turn things around in the end, and then his moral compass flips back the other way, and it's like, damn, I really screwed up. And he doesn't make it up to Charlie by saying sorry or giving some heartfelt letter or speech or whatever. He makes it up to him by acknowledging that, yes, this horrible day that I hate so much is actually the day that I made one of my best friends ever. That's all Charlie wanted from Virgil, was to acknowledge that day that, hey, if that never happened, we would have never been friends. That's all Virgil ever had to do, and he finally does it in the end. And him making the declaration that they should come up with their own handshake is very symbolic of Virgil letting go of his past with Derek and Steph. Sure, more so Derek than Steph, but it's like a clear symbolic thing of how Virgil is letting go of how much he clings to his better parts of his life. Also, the actors, I'd like to say real quick, the actors, mainly our primary trio, they have fantastic chemistry. Not a single scene that these three characters share ever feels dry or forced. I'd place big money on all three of them having very fond memories of filming this movie. And the acting itself is like pretty damn top notch for what it is, especially considering the age of some of the actors at the time this movie was filmed. As for the VFX, they aren't terrible. I think the lighting of the bunker when the vortex is active is a little off, since the walls are all sort of like lit up all white, but the vortex is blue and purple. But they did get the sort of stormy, flashing, spinning vibes of the lighting pretty decently. The VFX and special effects in general aren't overused. Like, there isn't a massive emphasis on them, and most of the emphasis of this movie is on the characters and the story rather than the flashiness. Also, the black hole at the end in the middle of the football field, it doesn't look terrible. Ultimately, I could talk about this movie all the live long day. The writing is super solid, the character development is genuinely great, and everything is brought full circle at the very end so well. There isn't a knot left untied, no throwaway details, and the dialogue is very charming and endearing. But holy moly, this script is almost 9 pages long, we gotta wrap this up. So let's do the final review, shall we? Minutemen is a 2008 Disney original film starring Luke Benward, Jason Dolley, and Nicholas Braun. It is presented as a very traditional time travel film with a lot of what-if scenarios about what high school students would use time travel for. Of course, being a time travel film, it has a few contradictions in the mechanics of how the time travel is used, but that is to be expected from most typical time travel movies. But beneath the surface is well thought out writing with a clear understanding of what social interactions and motivations look like during the critical teenage years of people's lives. As such, the character interactions and the actions they take based on said motivations is the biggest highlight of the film. Though it starts off extremely goofy, the characters and their motives are revealed to have more and more depth as the story progresses, creating a very emotional finale with satisfying completions to each character's arc. The most standout performances come from, of course, Luke Benward, Jason Dolley, and Nicholas Braun as the protagonists. Chelsea Kane gives quite a compelling performance as Stephanie, and she is well suited to the role. Stephen R. McQueen gives a relatively adequate performance as Derek, although it is definitely on the slightly weaker side. It is clear his chemistry with the other actors isn't as strong. Being a 2008 film, the visual effects aren't perfect, but they are passable. Considering the decent set design and not over-reliance on visual effects, the existing visual effects don't bring down the enjoyment of the film in this reviewer's opinion. Although it is a Disney film, which are usually aimed at younger audiences, Minutemen presents themes and messages that any audience can enjoy. This is definitely not a film parents would hate watching with their kids, as it presents very mature lessons and may remind them of their highs and lows in their own personal high school experience. With sound writing, the traditional fun concept of time travel, endearing characters, and a surprising amount of emotional weight, I give Minutemen 2008 an objective score of 8 out of 10 and a bias score of 8.75 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. I've been planning to make this video for over a month, and I'm finally glad I got it out to all of you. I'm sure you can tell that this is one of my favorite Disney films of all time, and I highly, highly recommend you all watch it for yourself. I couldn't include every single character moment and every minor plot point, else this video would be way too long. But that leaves plenty of unseen content and unexplained enjoyment to be enjoyed by all of you. If you're curious about where my Tron Uprising review is, relax. It's coming, okay? Tron is an IP I'm extremely passionate about, and I want my video on Tron Uprising to be nothing short of perfect by my own standards. But if you enjoyed this video and look forward to seeing more reviews from me, be sure to leave a like and sub. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you really like the way we do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, definitely consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and help keep this channel running. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.